So what is our psychospiritual journey? And the idea is that we're all energy units, we're connected to each other. The essence of us is love, of course, but it is actually an electromagnetic field. And the idea is that we align ourselves to be our full self, so that we have this whole field which is in harmony, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And the idea is that we're like a lotus. Each of those petals is an element of our journey, and we've built that over lifetimes. And so we're building quality into our essence, into our higher self. And this bottom part here of this diagram just represents that core element in myself, for instance, and then how that fits into my community as a soul of Australia. And so this is only a partial map, but there are much more advanced ones as well to refer to. So basically there's a lotus. The lotus, we have a process where as a group we link ourselves as lotuses. In a symbolic way, we imagine light from the center of the earth to the highest heavens, to the sun if you like, and that we imagine energy currents flowing from heart to heart, heart to heart, and then that they're like spokes of the wheel that join us to this greater higher essence. God is all there is, so to speak. And as we do that, we actually link our electromagnetic fields. And if anyone wants to explore this, they might want to look at plasma physics and electromagnetic processes to do with how plasma is affected by fields. And it will show an updraft in pure physical terms, and I've been working with this for a very long time, and there's lots more to say about that. But anyway, this is the basic map, symbolically represented. So think of a causal body, the lotus. Think of lots of lotuses. Those lotuses linked heart to heart, mind to mind, spirit to spirit. And so this field is rotating, it's spiraling, it's linking all of this. All right. We then extend that symbolically, visually to the soul of Australia itself, to our soul of Australia linked with Australasia, and all the nations within that field then are part of a greater lotus. You can imagine these turbines of energy linking together. They then so that's the principle of love, of unity, of oneness, the capacity to be identified with the whole, the capacity to be in harmony with the whole, and that willingness to cooperate energetically and in a field sense can actually consciously be done, lovingly be done, and to actually then take it another step further. So that's love and intelligence, and then we move it to the Buddhic, monastic Buddhic and atmic plane. So think of the triangle, which represents the spiritual intelligence, spiritual love, spiritual will. And as we work as a unit, we can simply visualize light, and just light, even if it's just light. And you can say that that's causal energy or soul energy, or the highest part of us, one aspect of us. So we visualize that as united. Just imagine that in the core of each person is a sound, like an om, if you like, or a note of music, color, and so on. And if these colors, these sounds, these notes harmonize together, unify together, then there's a huge resonance and lifting power within that. As we lift, we also invoke, or we call in the will, or the invocative element in us, and simply by visualizing the sun, even simple things, and bringing that sense of that link or alignment. And we use words of power, for instance, like we're one, if you like, the will to love, the will to unify, to initiate, to harmonize, anyway, there's a whole lot of them, and depending on the ray makeup of each individual as to which one you use. So the idea is that use this unified field then invokes a higher response from a higher part of oneself. It is considered triadic, and we virtually lift the whole field through the building of the Antakarana. So the Antakarana is in the center. Now, so this is a better way of seeing it. So we could sort of imagine a causal field of, say, our soul of Australia. We can imagine then the Australasia here, us combined with Australasia, then Europe and the Americas and the Europe there, and this higher triad, if you like, up higher. think of a five-pointed star. Each of those stars is a lotus, which is a group entity, which is a whole lot of people, a whole lot of souls working together in harmony and unity for greater good of humanity. These are a field, when they link together, have huge power to call forth the best in humanity, call forth souls of nations and so on. So that's what that kind of represents. Fire, the images of fire in the center of those globes, and you could say they're really the anticorona in a way. There's a spiraling energies of the anticorona lead this triangle, if you like, to even higher elements besides the will aspect. For myself, in this, I've become aware of these amazing correlations between fields and of the essence of what they're made of, really, actually, and interest in electricity and how that works, really. But it's too much to go into now. There are energies such as these, think of this triangle on a higher level again, and which is simply energies or like fields of groups of people, really souls, cooperating with each other in geometric form. And here they have a reference to the three Buddhas of activity. We could really trace this as science into different levels of vibration and how they're responsible for different areas of the planet. These are all very esoteric, so how to explain them in a way that's useful to others is a whole other story. Further up, there's another triangle, which is that whole causal field, and there are angelic energies, they're invoking fields. Think of the earth itself as a grid, like a network of streams, a bit like the nodal streams of acupuncture, if you like, you know, chi. And at different points in history, some of these fields are stimulated and major groups emerge who are huge. So we talked about the invocative power of world communities. We talked about the idea of building in quality vibration and the science behind that. And so I do encourage a group of scientists with spiritual inclinations as well to investigate plasma flows and the electromagnetic fields and how that relates to conscious changes in evolution and consciousness. Okay, so in this map, which is what we were talking about, was this simple triangle here, which represents part of a step along that journey, and you'll see that Earth there with the orange little dot, that just represents Australasia. And so different fields of the planet consciousness of humanity were triggered, and this happens. There are many references to major jumps in consciousness for humanity, and a major idea is born. Anyway, there's things happening there. So if one lifts in consciousness in service to humanity, then there will be at some point stages where one jumps oneself in consciousness, and we have major images or revelations or insights into answers to major questions we've been asking perhaps our whole lives about the nature of life, nature of reality, nature of consciousness, and the whole healing, whole-making, unifying, synthesizing, universalizing of conscious being of humanity. So in other words, we're really all one. We're hearing that everywhere more and more. We're having this whole concept of synthesis, of the integration, unification, and the oneing of things. It doesn't make everything bland. It just makes one realize that one is human. One is also somehow divine, or is living being, living, loving being. Anyway, so the lotus, I'm encouraging people to look at lotus and the concept of that as a way of trying to understand energies in arrangement, in relationship, of movement, and think of exploring chi and the whole idea of consciousness. So these are just some of my journeys. That's all I'm representing, really, but they are universal, and there's, for people wanting to start, there's The Light of the Soul, Patanjali, and many other works, which if you're interested in exploring. So here you may encounter experiences of your own life being challenged by having a choice to make a sacrifice of some kind, having to give up something in order to do something good for a greater reason. And those moments of major crisis for people opportunities for enormous advancement, enormous good, but as a normal human being, we may have to surrender to something else. The main thing is that it's a good place, not a bad place to be, and it's somewhere where you can make a difference. And there will be others like yourself, so you're not alone at all, not alone at all. So in this experience, I simply have some experiences where I make a decision to stay and love and care for humanity in whatever way one can. It doesn't have to be grand. For me, it's been esoteric psychology, philosophy, and astrology. Also the idea of nurturing of consciousness of individuals and communities, and trying to invoke the highest in all as much as possible. So here it's just a symbolic image of, to think of a path that looks like fire. So in a way, that's considered a kind of field of sacrifice in a way, or to make sacred really. It's not horrible or dreadful. It's simply lifting to a higher place, making a higher choice, or moving beyond what one's been used to. So it can come in many phases, big ones and small ones. Main thing is they all add up, and keep asking the questions of, now, what am I learning? What is the nature of this? What are my questions about meaning and purpose in life? And having a sense of finding your piece of the jigsaw. No one is a mistake. Nothing is a mistake. Nothing is a coincidence. We're here for a reason. We can do great good if we're willing to just be our full light, full self. So here's just my experience with the White Buddha, one of them. I've had many, and I was very blessed to have an audience with the White Buddha that helped me to understand some of the things about karma and timing and service to humanity, really, a way of helping, a way of serving. There's much more to say, but it's not really appropriate in this little talk. On this other side, there's think of a field think of space, just nothing, the blue, indigo blue of space, the kind of emptiness of it. And on that is a piece of like black stone, like granite, and it's flat and smooth. And on it sit like monks. You can't really see their faces, but they're sitting there around in a round circle. And in the middle of that is a void. And above it, slightly above it, is a kind of hologram of the earth. These are the watchers, and they help humanity, and they watch over and support welfare of the planet and humanity as a whole. And so there are these contemplators, these meditators, these ones that try to inspire us, just put simply in our dreams, for instance, for many people, also in at moments of major questioning in our lives. We have some whispers of compassion. Sometimes it's just a few words that help us to make a choice in a positive way. And then that leads to us maybe doing service in some way. And it can be anything from writing a book or a kindergarten, influencing some little child to be the next prime minister or invent some major discovery. The main thing is none of it is a mistake. Just give everyone your best. Now, there's so many things here, but we can't really go into them. At each of these stages along the path, and it's been a very long one for me, we have these. You might see an image in your meditation, you might see geometry, you might see color, you might hear vibration at some point in it. Try to jot it down in your journal, and one day you will see that there's actually a path and it will all make sense. No one's going to tell you what to do, how to do it, all you're going to ever get is hints. The main thing is to make the most of what you are and share what you are, because you are precious. You're absolutely precious. Absolutely precious. And there are others like you, and you need to find them. And you have enormous power as a community, as a soul. What this path of fire leads to is a beautiful white wings. Those white wings are related to Buddhic things, or intuitive energies, if you like. I'm just trying to be simplistic here. and then it leads into much higher fields, including the sun. So the idea is that the spirit, if you like, in us has this quality of this life-giving quality, this kind of going back to the home, going back to one's home. Yeah. Eventually, beyond the sun, if you like, you could say that there's a triangle of energies you can think of. In the center of it is Sirius, the star Sirius, and the idea of a sense of absolute wisdom, love, wisdom for humanity, and so on. And you have the spirit of peace on one side, Lord Buddha on the other. They form an element of working together, if you like. And there's an avatar of synthesis coming through that triangulation. And the idea is this is an entity, like think of an angel, but much higher. And that energy is coming into the world saying we all need to unify everything we know, share everything we have and have experienced, and share that with the world somehow. This avatar synthesis is coming closer and closer to humanity, same as the Buddhist concept of the Buddha being watching over us and the Christ watching over us. So the idea is that there's the avatar synthesis coming through Sirius, coming through this triangulation of Spirit of Peace, the Lord Buddha cooperating. They're working with Sri Kumara, the wise one, or the ancient one on the planet in a philosophical sense, if you like, but it's a real entity, through the Christ, overshadowing the Christ with this energy. So think of Christ as love and wisdom and compassion and all that. Think of the Buddha as light and wisdom. Think of the Spirit of Peace. What is that? A mind-blowing, amazing thing that comes and helps humanity when it's having its worst time. This overshadowing of the Christ, and Christ being the planetary heart. Think of the Christ principle, you can say the bodhisattvas, if you like. There are many, many terms, but they're all universal and they all refer to love and oneness. Okay, these entities. So they overshadow the Christ, the planetary heart, and the hierarchy of teachers who've simply been working at this for thousands of years and are very wise guides of humanity. It overshadows this hierarchy, and they are part of ashrams or communities with these wise ones at their head, with communities of students, if you like, and they are the ashrams, if you like, and they get energized. So this is a time now of energizing them in a major, major way. Now you all belong to an ashram. You all have vibration of a certain pitch or color or quality. Even if you play with music, even if you play with color, look at what truly speaks to you in your core. That's who you are in a much deeper sense. And if you cultivate that simple act, it will bring the best out in you. So these ashrams, and I apologize for speaking so fast, these ashrams are being vitalized, energized, electrified, if you like. The students in all of these teams of people, and there's many levels of them, are working together. A lot of them are conscious. So anywhere around the world, you will find others who will speak your language. It's just almost as if you've known them forever, and they will recognize you on a plane, on a bus, in the street, anywhere. And so just look in their eyes, look past all the external things, and look at the core of the essence of this wonderful, wonderful divine being and human being as well. Say, I don't know why, but there's some reason we need to meet. Let's continue this conversation and let's see what happens. It can be the most joyful thing you can imagine, and you've been put together for a reason. So remember, there is great joy in collaborating with other souls like yourself. Now this journey is a very long one, so I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you.